If you're watching this video, it's probably because I discussed this matter with you in my office, or you've heard me do a presentation somewhere and talk about metabolic health and how metabolic health relates to your mental health and all chronic diseases. So there are 5 products that I discuss quite frequently that can help you achieve your goals to metabolic health. And by metabolic health, I'm really talking about insulin sensitivity. On the way to diabetes, you go through something called insulin resistance. We live in a society with too many carbs. It's very unnatural. Humans throughout history have not had access to such a large amount of really tasty carbohydrates. That's kind of a new phenomenon. I mean, they could eat carbs, but, they eat more meat and things like that. But now we have all these delicious sugar-sweetened carbs with preservatives and everything, and it's killing us. In recent times, we've seen certain chronic illnesses skyrocket in terms of popularity. Alzheimer's used to be very rare. Cancer used to be relatively rare. Autism used to be rare. Our consumption of carbohydrates has contributed greatly to these, as well as increased risk in cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases as well, in addition to things like bipolar disorder and major depression. All of these, what they have in common is that there is an association between the risk for these maladies and pre-diabetes and diabetes. Your body becomes so sick of carbohydrates that the cells go on strike, and that's a state called insulin resistance. Now, normally, for many cells, they require insulin. In order for the sugar to go from your bloodstream into your cells, they require insulin as a doorman. So when insulin is released by the pancreas in response to high blood sugar, the insulin accompanies the sugar to the door of the cell, and the insulin knocks. I got a delivery for you. Surprise, surprise, it's another load of sugar. And the cell can either say, hey, come on in, we love sugar here. Or it can say, you know what, we've got sugar stacked up in the back. We got so much sugar, it's blocking access to the bathroom. We don't need any more sugar. Take your sugar and go back to the pancreas. We don't want your sugar here. That's called insulin resistance. So the pancreas hears about your refusal to accept this delivery, and the pancreas goes, oh yeah? Well, I'm going to send another insulin, and another insulin, and another insulin, until there are so many doormen knocking on your door that you're going to have to open up. Well, that's not cool, okay? Because then your insulin levels are really, really high, and your cells are like going, all right, if I have to, and they let in the bare minimum. That's what's going on with the brain cell when you're insulin resistant. The brain cells are going, you know what, we are going to restrict how much glucose we're going to let go in here. And so they're like letting in the bare minimum. Meanwhile, the other fuel that the brain cells use, it can't get that at all. See, the other fuel that brain cells run on is fat. Also, the form of fat is ketones. The ketones come from processing fat, okay? So the brain cells can process ketones or they can process glucose. Now, a fat baby is a happy baby. You want your baby to have some fat on him because that fat is going to be burned and used to drive the maturation of the baby's brain. And a healthy brain has lots of fat to fuel this burst of maturation. And if you have a skinny baby, and we see that in cases where mom can't let go of the cigarettes and she's smoking while pregnant or using cocaine while pregnant, okay, something really dumb like that. When that happens and the baby comes out premature and skinny, well, that baby is not going to achieve its potential IQ. All right, it might not be mentally challenged in the sense that it requires special ed, but it's not going to live up to its potential. That fat is necessary. The brain loves fat. The brain runs on fat. It can run good on fat. And so we're calling things like Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because the first step for many people with Alzheimer's is that the cells become insulin resistant. They become allergic to carbs. And so they're letting in the bare minimum of sugar. But when insulin is high, it blocks your ability to burn fat. So the brain is denied any fat. So all it can run on is glucose, but it's on a glucose hunger strike. So your brain is like anorexic energetically. That contributes to depression and low motivation, right? Because the brain's not problem solving very well either without that fuel. So what you want to do to feel better when you're depressed, and a lot of times, when somebody comes in and the drugs have been working for, I got them on antidepressants, they've been stable for a long, long time, and suddenly they come in, it's like, Doc, I got no energy, no motivation, I'm depressed. Can you raise my medicine, please? One of the questions that I will ask immediately is, have you gained weight since the last time I saw you? And very often the answer is yes. 10, 20 pounds, maybe more. And because what happens, we feel bad, then we eat to make ourselves feel better. It's almost unconscious. We consume more sugary foods and stuff so we can get happy. And then you gain weight, but then your sugar goes up and everything. You get insulin resistant, and now the brain is starving. And so the solution is not necessarily increasing your Prozac or your Celexa or Lexapro or whatever. One of the things that needs to be addressed is we need to get your insulin down. And if we can reduce your insulin, then your brain is going to be able to consume ketones. You're going to start to burn fat. And when the brain has access to ketones, boom, it's back online. It's working again. It's achieving its former potential. You're preventing things like dementia, and you're coming out of your depression because your problem solving and your executive functions are back online. So planning, organization, time management, all those lovely tools that you have for thinking through your problems are back working again because now you're able to burn those fatty acids because you got your insulin down. So I'm going to get labs on you, and I want to know your HOMA-IR score. That stands for homeostatic model of insulin resistance. And that's your fasting glucose times your fasting insulin over 405. That number ideally needs to be 1.5 or less. If it's less than 1.5, that means you are metabolically healthy. Your cells are insulin sensitive, okay? That is good. Your brain is in a healthy metabolic state. The higher it is above 1.5, that shows us how pre-diabetic we are. So ideally, when I'm looking at that fasting insulin, I want to see numbers of 7.0 or less, okay? And we can get that to 7.0 or less through a ketogenic diet. Now, the problem with going on a flat ketogenic diet where you're just going to cut out carbs and I'm just going to eat meat and fat from now on, and meat, fat, and eggs, right? Well, that's kind of rough going cold turkey. You might be hungry if you just give up carbs altogether. Or, one of the things I've had success with is not a full ketogenic diet, but a really super reduced carb diet, which is kind of ketogenic, okay? So like 20 grams or less of carbs per day, maybe 30, whatever. But if you use these 5 products that I'm about to mention, then it'll be much easier to go on this carb-restricted diet, okay? If you use these 5 products, one of the benefit that you will experience is that these will help prevent low blood sugar. They help prevent hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia fuels hunger. It makes food taste. When you have low blood sugar, that food be tasting really good. You can fantasize about food. Like one of my favorite carbs is those pecan pancakes from Cracker Barrel. Boy, those are some good pancakes, man. If you never had pecan pancakes from Cracker Barrel, that's like crack cocaine with syrup on it, right? Delicious, absolutely delicious. Very bad for you. Very, very bad for you, okay? Pure sugar, all right? So if you have a meal with carbs in it and you use these 5 products, you will discover that when you eat that meal, it will satisfy you for hours and hours without the need for snacking, without the need maybe for another meal for the rest of that day. Makes it very easy to do a carb-restricted diet. So first, let's talk about the diet before we get to the products. The diet is where you pay attention and you drastically choose to cut down on your carb intake. So less bread, rice, potatoes, anything with starch in it. You want to get that out of your diet. Anything that's just pure sweets, You want to stop those guys, okay? Get them out of your diet. In place, what are you going to use for snacks? Stock up on fresh fruits, okay? You can have all the tree fruit you want, except for bananas. Bananas have got the glycemic index of a cookie, so no bananas. And if you do get a banana every now and then for a treat, okay, that's okay for a treat, but don't use that as a regular fruit for a regular snack. No melons, okay, those are also kind of sweet with not a lot of fiber, unfortunately. So get rid of the bananas and the melons, but all the tree fruits you want, peaches, pears, apples, plums, apricots, go for it as much as you want. You can also have as many berries as you want, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, go for it, okay? So those are your new friends regarding snacks, okay? So what are the tools? The five things, okay? First one here, berberine. Yep, berberine, berberine. This is an alkaloid yellow substance produced by multiple plants in nature, including the golden seal plant. And what berberine does has a number of functions. I'm not going to give you an exhaustive discussion of berberine, but one of the things that it does is it slows gastric emptying. So what that means is that when you eat some of those pecan pancakes, for example, instead of, like normally if I have a cup of pecan pancakes, all right, that gets to my stomach, and my stomach is really good at digesting carbs like that. Starch, I'm really good at digesting starch. So it starts dissolving in the mouth, and when it gets to my stomach, the enzymes just turn that into like pure sugar, and then I have enzymes that chop that starch into glucose. So within 15 to 20 minutes, I have turned that starch into pure glucose, and it's in my blood. So my blood sugar goes boing, boing, boing. It goes from like 100 to 400 within 20 minutes. Now with this high blood sugar, my pancreas freaks out. Oh, what's going on? Blood sugar is super high. You're going to need a lot of insulin to get rid of all that blood sugar. So squirt, out comes a bunch of insulin. Now my insulin is really high. So it works really well so that at 45 minutes, all of that sugar that was in my blood is now sucked into my fat cells, my muscle cells, and everything, okay? So my cells suck up that blood sugar, and now my blood sugar, instead of being 400, is now sitting at 65. An hour later, I'm hungry. I got low blood sugar. I need more calories, okay? So berberine slows the rate at which that sugar is going to leave my stomach. So it slows both the stomach and small intestine down so that it takes longer to get to my blood. So instead of spiking my blood sugar right away and giving me a big sugar spike that lasts only a few minutes, and then I have low blood sugar a short time later, my blood sugar gradually goes up because it takes longer to reach my blood. And it's coming out gradually so that I am sugar satisfied for hours. 4 hours later, I'm still good because I have sugar leaking out of my gut into my blood over a longer period of time. That's what berberine's doing for me. It also works on the liver, and it slows the release of sugar from the glycogen stores into my blood. So it helps to stabilizes the blood sugar all around. So by preventing that hypoglycemia, I stay full for a longer time. Berberine is awesome. What is the dose? They're usually 500 milligrams each. You want to take one 500 milligram capsule with food 3 times a day. So that's step 1. Works really good. This alone will reduce your sugar spikes by 70%. Whoa, right? Yeah, so berberine, number 1. Number 2, fiber. You can use psyllium, you can use other forms of fiber. Fiber is kind of cheap. You can get that from Myers, Kroger's, any drugstore. It's all over the place. Amazon, all right? They're usually about 500 milligram capsules too. Now, you take, if it's a small meal, 4 capsules. And if it's a moderate meal, like 6 capsules. If it's a big whopping meal, then you want like 8 capsules, so 4 grams. With water. Now, the ideal time to take the fiber is a half an hour to an hour before you eat. I never take it then. Very rarely am I that planned out. I just don't. When I'm hungry, I eat. And so I usually take it right before I eat or during, all right? It's better than not taking it at all. But ideally, half an hour to an hour before. 15 minutes is probably okay too, all right? Now, what does it do? Well, it acts like a glue. Now, if you have any experience with Metamucil, you know that it sucks up water, and over time, it makes this gooey, gluey matrix. So when you put it in your stomach with the food, it acts like a big glue that holds the stuff in your GI tract. So your GI tract, your small intestine, is going to have a whole lot harder time extracting it to get the sugar into your blood. It makes it hard to extract it from the gut to the blood. This can lower your blood sugar spikes by 70% by itself. When you combine it with the berberine, well, guess what? Now, together, you are reducing the sugar spike by over 90%, okay? That was going to keep you full for hours and hours and hours. So you're not going to be dealing with cravings. You're not going to be obsessed with food. You're not going to have low blood sugar. These work really, really well. These are the backbone of my low insulin diet. Okay, next. Now, for those who want to be more aggressive, you want results really, really quick, add some apple cider vinegar, okay? Now, it does come in pill form, but I get the real stuff here, the liquid. And so when I have a meal, I get a swig. 1 or 2 swigs, depending on how big the meal is, all right? So what does a swig of apple cider vinegar do? Well, glad that you asked. Apple cider vinegar does a couple things. One, it also slows gastric emptying. It slows down the stomach and small bowel, kinda like berberine does. So by a different mechanism though. But also does some other things. It affects your gut biome, which berberine does as well. Berberine does much more than what I've said. Berberine can actually help to clear the plaque from your arteries. There's not many things that can do that, so berberine's awesome stuff. But apple cider vinegar, in addition to the slowing thing, it also inhibits the enzyme alpha amylase. That's the enzyme that turns starch into glucose. Now, normally, it goes like this. Snip, 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 snip. That's how fast it snips. It takes that long carbohydrate chain and cuts that starch into little glucoses so that, as I said, within 15 minutes, it can go through a whole cup of pancakes, all right? A whole cup of pecan pancakes real easy because that's how good alpha amylase is. When apple cider vinegar is in town, it disables that enzyme. It slows it way, way down. So instead of going snip, 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 it goes snip, snip, snip. You get the idea. It's much slower. So once again, another mechanism for delaying the release of sugar into your bloodstream. So altogether, we are making it so that your food, the carbs that you do eat, instead of being immediate release formulation, these are all extended release. And as a result, instead of your blood sugar going way up here and then way down here, it just gradually goes up to somewhere in the middle. So instead of hitting 400, it gets up to like 140, 150, and then it stays there for 4, 5, 5.5 hours. And then it gradually goes down. So no high blood sugar, no low blood sugar. Now the benefit here regarding your insulin is that at the end of the day, your total insulin is you add up all of those insulin spikes. Here's the pancakes. Here's some rice. Here's a cookie. Here's a banana. And you add up all those spikes. And at the end of the day, there you are, 4,000 units of insulin for the day. But if you use these products, your insulin spikes will not be anywhere near as high. And you add the total insulin for the day, and now you're sitting at about 975 as opposed to 4,000. I was making up numbers, just to give you some idea. It's a really large loss, a much reduced amount of total insulin per day. That's how you get your insulin down. And when your insulin levels go down, you can now lose weight. You can't burn fat if insulin is high. It's impossible. High insulin stops you from oxidizing fat. And when you get your insulin down, the weight comes off gradually by itself. Okay, it just melts off. So that's why you want to get the insulin down. And when you get the insulin down, your HOMA-IR score improves. You go from a really bad HOMA-IR score around 4, 5, 7, 12, whatever, to 1.5 or less. And now your brain is working. Your risk of diabetes is much lower. It's almost, you're not going to get it. Your risk of dementia, your risk of heart attacks, strokes, all that stuff, autoimmune diseases. Your risk of all of these chronic illnesses that hurt us the most has gone down drastically. Prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, you name it. Insulin is a growth factor, and many cancers are fueled by high insulin. You just kick that thing in the privates. Okay, you really made a difference. So there are two other products here that also contribute to getting your insulin down, but they do something else as well. First one, the sweetener, allulose. Now this says monk fruit sweetener with allulose. That's what this is. Now, when you mix allulose with monk fruit, it gives it the texture of granulated sugar. It's still about half as sweet as table sugar, so you can substitute this for sugar. The benefit of this is no calories. Allulose is a natural sugar that is found in figs. Your body recognizes it as an actual sugar. It satisfies your sweet tooth. So when you eat something sweetened with allulose, you don't want any more sugar. You don't want to drink a real pop because your body feels that you've already had some sugary drink if you sweetened your drink with it, okay? So that's a big benefit. You can substitute it for sugar and not have the sugar calories. It tastes like sugar. My favorite recipe with allulose is homemade ice cream. It tastes just like sugar. You cannot tell the difference between ice cream sweetened with allulose and ice cream sweetened with other sweeteners. It is that good. It's really good. Now, in addition, though, allulose increases GLP-1 release by 30% or more. Okay, what is GLP-1? GLP-1 is, those weight loss drugs like Ozempic are GLP-1 agonists. They stimulate the GLP-1 receptor. GLP-1 is a hormone released by the small bowel. There are receptors on your vagus nerve that go to your brain, go to your brainstem, okay? So when GLP-1 is high, it gets your vagus nerve to tell your brain, you're full. You don't want to eat anymore. When GLP-1 is real high, the signal says not only that you're full, but you're nauseous. That's why when people go on Ozempic, they can be nauseous all day long, okay? Yeah, that's what it can do. So GLP-1 agonists, when you stimulate GLP-1, it tells you that you're satisfied. You're content. You've had enough. Okay, that's important. It also has an effect on the liver, and it also prevents the liver from kicking out so much sugar as well, because the sugar can burn and the liver can release the glycogen stores and raise your blood sugar, and this helps keep the blood sugar stable as well. So that's awesome. Man, that's really helpful when it comes to losing weight, raising your GLP-1 levels. Now, there's one more agent here. If you want to be uber aggressive and do the whole plan, let's say you're desperate. You want to lose weight and you want to lose it now. You just want to spend whatever you can, and you want to maximize the speed at which you lose the weight and get your insulin in a healthy range. You can add TUDCA, stands for taurine uso-deoxycholic acid. All right, TUDCA. And now TUDCA's been around for a long time. This dose is 250 milligrams. This is 500 milligrams. And the reason I have both of them up here is that for aggressive treatment, the dose is 750 milligrams twice a day. Now, in some of those early studies, they tried 500 milligrams a day to see the effects on metabolics, and it was equivocal. Okay, it's okay, but nothing to write home about. The higher doses, wow, they made a difference. And so a good dose from the literature that I've seen is 750 milligrams twice a day. So that's either 3 250s or a 250 and a 500 twice a day. Now, originally, this is a bile salt, okay? And so with people who've had their gallbladders out, who are prone to gallstones, they use TUDCA to dissolve those stones. It helps to break fat down and so forth, and so it is useful for that purpose. However, it does something else that's useful to us. It can raise your GLP-1 levels, are you ready for this? 100%. It's like Ozempic without the shot. Can raise your GLP-1 by 100%. 100%. So that means when you take it with food twice a day, the satisfaction, the likelihood that that food is going to satisfy you for hours and hours, big time, right? You're going to use it twice a day. So you've got these other things that are delaying the sugar in your diet so that you're satisfied for hours and hours. Then you're using TUDCA, you're raising your GLP-1 with allulose and TUDCA. You're not going to be hungry. So you don't have to tell yourself, I'm on a diet. It's not going to feel like a diet. You are not going to be dealing with very much hypoglycemia at all on this insulin reduction protocol. I call this Dr. Guy's insulin reduction protocol, and I've shared it with hundreds of patients, and so far I haven't had anybody fail. I've never seen anything related to diet that is this successful in 25 years. I've not seen anything like this, okay? But literally 100% of patients that have been on this have seen their insulin come down across the board. I had one patient where I thought it might not be working because he came in, I think his insulin was around, I want it to be like 7 or less. His was around like 13. And we went on the diet for about 6 weeks. He came back and his insulin shot up to 16. And we're like, what's going on here? I mean, everybody else, their insulin went down. What are you doing? Are you doing the program? Oh yeah, taking the fiber, I'm taking the berberine. I don't know why my insulin's not going down. Turns out he didn't know that beer was a carbohydrate. So beer is a carbohydrate, okay? When I say cut down on carbs, means beer is included, all right? So yeah, and when he nixed the beer, his insulin went down just like everybody else's, okay? So if you follow these directions, use the products, cut down the carbs, go for the ketogenic diet, you will be able to do this hopefully as a lifestyle, and you will reap the benefits. The weight will come down, and your mood, if you're taking this because of depression, you'll find your mood much better. Your ability to problem solve, your overall mood and motivation, ability to enjoy things will be improved because this addresses the metabolic basis of much of the depression, okay? So I hope this helps. And if so, awesome. That's what I'm hoping. So go for it and let me know. For those of you who are my patients, let me know how it's going on our next visit. Thanks for watching.
Gazing at the midnight sky, stars fall in silver trails, mysteries in the twinkling night, universe